Hello, everyone. I'm Denton Davidson for Gold Derby, and I'm sitting down with Grammy winner, Emmy winner, Tony winner, and Oscar nominee Cynthia Erivo. That's not all. She's also the star of National Geographic's Genius Aretha, a bioseries that chronicles the life of the Queen of Soul, Aretha Franklin. Cynthia, what was your reaction when you got the call to play this historic American icon?
I was I was one surprised, two really in shock and honored that they would think I was the right person to be able to tell her story. I was very much minding my own business. I had no idea that this was even a twinkle in anyone's eye. And when I got the call that someone was watching me sing something on a red carpet, because that's essentially how it happened. They had seen me sing an Aretha Franklin song on the red carpet, and that's sort of what sealed the deal. I was just sort of blown away that an opportunity could come in that way. Yeah.
And I just want to tie this back to this series because it's the third installment. There's been one about Einstein, one about Picasso. What to you is the genius of Aretha Franklin?
But there's a few things, really. It isn't, for me, it isn't just the sound that she made. It isn't just the music she made. It's the way she made it. It's who she was, and the way she was able to compartmentalize and split herself into different places in order to make things happen. She was a friend to Dr. Martin Luther King, was a part of the civil rights movement. She was able to compose and write music without actually having the formal education. So her concert pianist work was second to none. And she was able to find notes and keys that others could only dream of, even though she had never really taken full lessons. She couldn't write notate music, but still was able to compose and create the sound that we know and love her for. And I think more than anything, over the span of the life that she had, it's all the different styles of music that she was able to create with the different types of people. And yet somehow everyone from all walks of life know who she is. They know her music, they know her voice. It's the idea that her music, because it could be so different and it's different to other people, but somehow welcome everybody, meant that you could pull people together a little bit. Yeah, she was pretty special.
And you do your own singing for this role, which had to be a little intimidating, considering Aretha is considered one of, if not the greatest singer of all time. But you dove in, you nailed a lot of those vocal techniques, it's sort of that mix of chest and head voice and infusing all of that gospel. What did you have to study and train? And how did you train your own voice to get some of that sound?
I'm lucky because I've been singing for a long time and I've been listening to her music for a long, long time. But I had an incredible vocal coach, Antea Joy Bachette, who would sit with me and we would listen to the songs that we were going to do over and over again. We would spend at least an hour per song just to break it down and find the little decisions that she would make, the little nuances that she would have in each of the songs. I listened to a lot of her live music because often those were the pieces that we were pulling from to perform. And no one performance is ever the same. If you hear a performance on a recording, seeing a live performance is totally different because now she has the freedom to do with it whatever she pleases. So it's about having patience and just listening and listening and listening and going back and sort of allowing myself not to be afraid to let my voice go and fuse it to what she was doing with hers. I know what my voice sounds like, but I didn't want it to be Cynthia sings Aretha Franklin. I wanted it to feel like I had adhered to the decisions and the choices that she had made in her music, because I feel like they're very special. That they're certainly not the decisions I would have made automatically, but she's naturally that way inclined. Yeah.
And what was the most difficult Aretha song that you had to sing for this?
There's a song called Never Grow Old. We did it in the Amazing Grace episode, it's episode 6. And that was the most difficult song to learn because it has no time signature. So you're listening to it and you have no idea when she's going to stop, when she wants to breathe. If she breathes, often it's like an irregular time. So, and there's no leader. She's playing the piano, so her voice is the thing that is leading the music. That that was really difficult because I didn't know where to start. Usually you have like, okay, so these are the chords. We know that it's going to be in that key. I'm going to start there. There's no chord because she's the one that sets it. You usually think, okay, this is the time signature. It's in 4/4, but there's no time signature because she's the one that decides when she moves, if she moves, how she moves, and where to. So that took some time. But it's one of those things where it's like riding a bike. At first, it's really, really difficult, and you can't seem to get the balance. And then when you get it, it just stays, and you never really forget it again. And so that's what's happened with that particular song. Yeah.
And her mannerisms as well. This is what sort of knocked me out. Not just singing, but just her in general. When she's speaking to people, there's sort of this constant guard up in a way. What were some of those mannerisms and qualities about her that you learned in your preparation that you wanted to bring to the screen?
My favorite thing about learning her mannerisms, well, I loved watching her interviews. I loved watching how she was with different people and how that changed over time. When you watch her in an interview, 60s, 70s, she's really almost demure, like pulled back, quiet. So it always makes the interviewer lean in. And I just loved how she would do that and how small it would sometimes be. And then if you push into like the 80s into the 90s, she starts to sort of have fun. So there's more interviews of her sort of laughing and having fun and like playing with people who are interviewing her towards that time of her life. And I think it's because at that moment she could just be who she wanted to be and make the music she wanted to make and have fun. And she was doing things with George Michael and Annie Lennox and it's Lauryn Hill. And so she was sort of just making whatever she felt like making. And then we come around to the later years where it's sort of like 2000s and like 99 and all of those moments where she's like, kind of like, I did what I did and I'm good. And I don't have to give anyone anything. And it's different from the first time you meet her where she's sort of like shy and demure. It's sort of like, I will sit here how I please and I'll give you the answer I want to give you if I feel like it on the day. I just love the shifts and changes that she has towards people. And I just was watching as many of those as I possibly could. Yeah.
Yeah, she became the queen.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you started in theater in London and made your Broadway debut in The Color Purple in 2015, for which you won the Tony. How does that theater background sort of ground you and prepare you for film and television?
Well, I think once you've done theater, I don't think anything is as difficult because 8 shows a week, 6 days a week is no easy feat. And it's like a train, you keep having to do it. You have to keep going every single day. You're moving and you're preparing for the show at night. You're preparing, and sometimes 2 shows in one day. And when you come off that, the training that you're left with is sort of this stamina that is hard to come by unless you've had to experience it. And so I guess I've been lucky enough to experience what it is to have that kind of stamina. So that kind of staying power. I can do a 10-hour day and I can sing on set over and over again because I've had to sing a whole show, which is nigh on 2 hours. So singing one song, I don't know, 10 times is fine because I've sung 10 songs in a show, and that's one show in a week. So your body sort of like builds this armor, I guess, having done some theater. Yeah. And because you get the chance, you can't stop and go back in theater. Once it's done, it's done. You move forward and the only chance you get to do it again is the next show. So when you're doing film and theater, I guess your brain automatically goes, how can I do this without having to do it again? So when you get the chance to go back and do something again, you don't take it lightly. You know, it's a nice gift to be able to come back and try something again. And so when you do, you play and you try as many ways as you can. Yeah.
And one of the reasons I asked is because I've interviewed other members of the crew and they were mentioning how great it was to have someone who's so trained in that background leading the cast. Kevin McKnight, the director of photography in particular, he said, there were times where I was really in her face, like 2 feet away, but she was able to just ground herself and pretend that I wasn't there. Were there certain scenes or episodes that did feel more challenging when you were filming?
Probably the scenes It's probably episode 8 where you see her have to deal with the death of her father and
Mm.
her having to let him go. And I say difficult just because you know you're having to live in a moment that's really heartbreaking. It's hard, and you have to find the things that connect in order to truthfully be in that moment. That's why it was really tough. But I have to say that everyone was really considerate and really sensitive, like whether or not it was being as quiet as they could so that the space could feel um, right, or whether it was just making sure that we're shooting in a respectful way so we don't have to keep going over and over and over again, because what you don't want to do is lose the heart and the meaning in something like that. But yeah, that was probably one of the hardest episodes to shoot, that one, just because it was so full of loss. Yeah.
And one of the incredible actors you get to go toe to toe with in this series is the great Courtney B Vance, who plays Aretha's father, Reverend Seal Franklin. What was that experience like to work with such a seasoned actor who also really just becomes his character?
Yeah, awesome. You know why? Because it's not just the work that he does on screen that's brilliant, it's him. Courtney's a wonderful person. So what you don't see, but I'm experiencing, is in that episode that I spoke of, he is holding my hand really tight. Courtney is holding my hand really tight, knowing that, and he would always be like, just take your time with it. We would finish a cut and he would say, just take your time, let it be there. And it's just really helpful when someone consistently gives you the space to be there. And it's like a really wonderful game of tennis with him. He wants you to do well, and in order to do well, he gives you the challenge. And so I love working with him. I loved working with him. And he's funny and sweet and lovely, just in general. And then to be able to go toe to toe with him that way is a real gift. Yeah.
And I want to just mention or credit the production designers, hair, makeup, costumes. The whole series is just visually stunning. Was there a favorite style or era of Aretha's that you liked preparing for every day? And how long does it take in the morning to become Aretha Franklin?
So my hairstylist, Corey Moreno, and Terrell Mullen, who did the makeup for me, I've known them for a long time. They do so when you see me on a red carpet, it's their work as well. So I take them with me on these sets, and they're wonderful. And for them, it was a joy to step into the world of Aretha, because they're both very huge fans. So they'd done all the research. Our trailer was covered in pictures of Aretha from all different eras in chronological order. So we have 60s right through to the 90s. And I guess my favorite is probably early 70s, well, mid 70s Aretha, when she has the orange flip Farrah Fawcett hair. Just because it was so, because you go from something that just isn't that to that. And it's like a huge change. It feels like she just decided one day, I want something different. I want something different. I want to feel cool and fun and sexy, and all the clothes get brighter, the colors get richer, her makeup gets softer, because in the 60s you have that inky black eyebrow, which was really difficult to make sure that it was sort of like correct. You have the frosted lip that she would always wear, and then when you hit that 70s auburn orange, it gets really warm and like open, and I loved that. It didn't take us long. He never took too long. I think the longest it took was when we had to do 90s, where we had prosthetics, and that took a while. That took 3 hours to put the prosthetics on, and then another hour or so to do hair and makeup on top of that. And that was it was satisfying to see the transition and a change into something like that. But I think the 70s, that era was my favorite. Yeah, where it sort of gets all open and bright and rich. It's lovely. Yeah.
And you're finishing up your own album that's set to be released soon. Did filming this series impact your musical direction at all, or influence the way that you were singing? And what type of music can we expect from you?
I don't know that it impacted it in that I was recording it whilst I was filming. So I would finish in the week, and then usually on the weekday or at night when I would get back, I would record the songs. And I don't know, I guess if you're spending the day listening to Aretha Franklin, your propensity to want to make sure that the music you make is of a high standard sort of goes through the roof. And so I would go back and listen to something and go, okay, can we shift that, and can we change that? Can we add this in here? Can we have a cello instead of that? Can we have a live piano there? So I started to really like look at the details of everything. And something I always do anyway, but I think I was looking at it with like a magnifying glass, because I wanted to make sure that if it felt right. The type of music you can expect. Everything that's sort of influenced me. You have, strangely enough, there's a song there that accidentally ended up feeling like country music, but the album is not a country music album. It just, that one song feels that way. But you have, I guess it's like a mix of soul, pop, and R&B all sort of melded together. But more than anything, it's just honest, and their stories that I've, lived and experienced and written. Yeah.
And who were two or three of the artists that really influenced you vocally when you were growing up? Who were the singers that you really idolized?
Aretha, obviously, because I was listening to her, and I feel like she was the one that I listened to learn how to tell a story when I'm singing. I used to listen to a lot of Annie Lennox, and Ella Fitzgerald is one of those women, because there's this purity in her voice, and the technique that she has is crazy. So yeah, those are only three of the very many artists that I listen to and have taken some influence from. Yeah.
And you mentioned sort of a few of your vocal icons. You've made appearances on shows like American Idol.
Yes.
One of the contestants sang your Oscar-nominated song "Stand Up" this season. So
Yeah.
how does it feel now that the shoe's sort of on the other foot? You're inspiring these up-and-coming singers.
It's a dream come true. You want to make sure, you wish that the work that you do will mean something to people, will move people, and that it's moved people enough to want to sing it and to experience what it is to sing these songs. It means a lot. And it's I didn't know I would be here. I didn't know that someone would sing a song that I co-wrote and performed on American Idol. Who knew? We all know American Idol, and I've been watching it since I was really young. So to see that, and it's like a full circle moment to see someone else singing my song. It's cool. Very cool.
Well, you're certainly keeping busy. You have an Apple series coming up called Roar with Nicole Kidman. You're playing a blue fairy in Disney's upcoming live action film Pinocchio, and you have a children's book coming out called Remember to Dream of Are. Yeah. So along with the new album, but I just want to congratulate you on all of that work, and particularly Genius Aretha, this series. It's such a tremendous undertaking, and it was just so impressive to watch. I want to encourage our viewers here to subscribe to Gold Derby to see more interviews with awards contenders like Cynthia here, and head over to goldderby.com and make your Emmy predictions and beat the experts. Cynthia, thanks again and best of luck with the whole Genius Aretha, the whole cast and crew.
Thank you very much. Thank you.